welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Hello and welcome back. I'm your hostess, Kristen, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Amber and Cindy.
Hello.
And if this is your first time joining us, we're glad to have you here. And if you're returning, then welcome back. If you have listened to any of our previous podcast episodes on goal setting, then you may already be aware that generally this time of year we will do like a mid-year reflection and go back to the beginning where we start your goals out and reflect and see like your progress, kind of check in. So we've talked about this topic before, because each year we kind of start off the year talking about our goals, how we've set our goals, and then kind of checking in, and then we recap at the end of the year. So it's that time of year. So we thought, let's go ahead and we'll do, an episode on mid-year check-in on our goals. So definitely suggest that you go back and check out if you're interested in goal setting. If this is your first time, hopping in, definitely go check out the other podcast episodes. We'll have those linked in the blog so that you can start, the journey of goal setting with us. We've got quite a few episodes where we've talked about SMART goals, bucket lists, and
setting up our planners.
Yeah, and just all different aspects of like attacking your goal from different angles. So, and I believe we've even done an episode of what doesn't work in goal setting, or we've glossed over it. We've talked about it, and so I thought today, because it's a reflection period, to go back over your goals and what's not working, because sometimes we start off with a goal and we go, this is how I'm going to achieve my goal, and we find that that is not the best way to approach a goal. So I thought that might be an interesting topic as part of the reflection for this year's goals, what's not working or what doesn't work with goal setting.
Right. And I like the idea of that too, because I think it's helpful for us to talk about the things that don't work for each of us, because sometimes we might want to try that or haven't tried it yet, and knowing why it didn't work for you might be an indicator whether it would work or not for me or whatever. So,
well, I have more of a laid back approach to goals compared to my co-host here. I set goals and then I just go with the flow. I don't force. I don't really force it like, oh my gosh, I have to complete this goal. I just go with the flow, and if the goals kind of go with the flow as well.
I think I want to understand that a little better. When you say you go with the flow, does that mean like give us a hard example of a goal and how you go with the flow with that?
Well, typically, like, I'll set these goals and then I'll just live my life, and it'll be in the back of my mind that I have these goals. And then I will subconsciously, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Subconsciously fulfill these goals, but I don't write it out or track or anything like that, really. However,
so you're just waiting for opportunities to, and using your intuition to notice when there is an opportunity to fulfill a step in your goal, or whatever. Okay, I thought that's what you meant, but I wasn't sure.
Yes, it's more of a laid back approach of.
But do you have hard and fast goals? Like, say, for example, for myself, I have two kind of hard and fast goals that I've set for this year. I have some other ones too, but these are the two that are primary for me right now. One is to do a bunch of tax and bookkeeping work that is kind of fallen behind, and the other one is to clean out my garage. So those are hard and fast. I said this is a goal I really made that a plan. It wasn't like I'm thinking of these things that I'd like to do and those are in that list. It's like I said to myself, this is my goal. And I'm working on it.
My one of my hard and fast goals for this year is to get my house organized.
Uh-huh.
And I've been doing it in increments, like I have been giving myself, you must get your kitchen organized by this time.
Uh-huh.
And then now first I started like at the back of the house and I'm working my way up. So I started with the closet
Uh-huh.
in my bedroom. I thought that was like you need the closet, you need to organize your shoes and your clothes, unpack your clothes and everything like that. So I started with the closet in the bedroom, and then I branched out to the bedroom, like buying things as I needed, like new curtains, whatever.
Mhm.
And now I have just finished the kitchen, and now I'm branching out to the living room.
But these weren't hard and fast. You didn't have a list. I'm going to do this, then this, then this, then this.
Well, I had I'm gonna do the bedroom first. I had this is what I'm gonna do first, and
Right. But I
this
think
is
she
how
means
I'm
like
gonna
a piece of
organize it.
paper, like a handwritten list.
It's-
Or it's just
No,
mental
it was
list.
it's just a mental list of
Yeah.
what I.
Okay.
And then I
So
do
you
keep,
are planning then. You're just not writing it
In your
out
head.
and tracking.
Well, I keep a lot of lists on my phone because
Uh-huh.
I have my
Yeah.
phone with me all the time. I have a goals planner with
Uh-huh.
the to-do lists that
Yeah.
I make. But I do have I guess this is odd, right? In my personal life, I'm not like as hard and fast as I am with my work life.
Right.
Like my work has deadlines. So I have everything lists and everything like that
on a planner or whatever. Yeah.
written out at work, and I keep it at work. Like,
Right.
this is what I need to do today by this time. So I'm very strict about my work goals, to-do list, what I need to do, what I need to accomplish. And I'm more relaxed about my personal life.
Right. Right.
Like, but my hard and fast thing is I had all of my stuff in like one of those storage pod things. And it was sitting in my front yard, and it was a big eyesore.
Yeah.
And I
Like my
wanted to get rid of it. Kristen even like offered to come over and help me clean it out and everything like that because she saw it as an eyesore as well. And I set a firm date with the pod company and said, you're going to pick it. The pod is going to be picked up this day, and it has to be cleaned out and organized by this day. And that was the 6th of May,
Uh-huh.
and I met that goal.
And that that is a good point too, because that's an excellent motivator in accomplishing your goals, is setting a time limit. We've talked about
and smart goals, timely, yes.
Setting that time limit, but not just in your head time limit, not just on your calendar, but something
with
that
the
has
company,
that
like,
someone holds you to
it has real consequences if you don't fulfill it. So
They
like
pick up the pod
canceling
and I'd lose all my stuff.
canceling your subscription for whatever if you don't
Yeah.
finish it by this date, or canceling your storeroom if you don't empty it out by this date, or and things like that. So it that is a great motivator, because there's a severe consequence there of not, if
Yeah.
they're going to come pick it up and your stuff's still in it, guess what? Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that doesn't work. You can totally have like a really, I like to think of it as a passive goal. Kind of like when you think of passive income, it's just happening in the background. You don't really think about it.
Right.
You're saying like, I've got this goal, but I'm just like speaking it to the universe. Like, this year I'm going to organize my house. And that was literally one of my goals last year, that did work, and I thought that it wasn't working because I wasn't like
Actively
I
pursuing
wasn't
it.
Mhm.
I wasn't writing down all the stupid steps, right? Because for me, like I knew what the steps were, but I felt like I was spending time on something when I could just be doing, because it was a doing
Yeah.
Right.
type. It wasn't a,
Yeah, you don't
it
need to write
wasn't-
steps for organizing your house unless
Right,
there's
and
something you need to
that's-
buy.
And that's what I was talking about with
Right.
her. She didn't have all the steps of
Exactly.
what she was going to do,
Yeah.
and that's how you kind of go with the flow. I just know I want to clean this room
Yeah,
out.
but setting like that deadline really does help, because I can say like, yes, I did organize my house, but I never set like a completion date. So there's definitely some areas that never got
Right.
finished because there was no date.
Which was the problem I had with my bookkeeping issues that were on my goal setting from last year that didn't quite get finished, and that's why I had to file an extension on my taxes. So, lesson learned here. Set a date.
Well, okay, so I recently now this is a goal that I would that I am writing out the steps to take care of, because this is like a life or death goal. I recently went to the doctor and had my annual physical, and the doctor threatened me. I mean, she said, your cholesterol is kind of high. It wasn't like, it's not deathly high like I'm about to die. But, both of my parents died from weight-related issues and stuff like that. So, she said, you have 1 year to bring it down, and then I want to explore options for bringing your cholesterol down, which means medication, and I'm not a huge fan of medication.
Right. And
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you there, because
So
I
that's
have a great fear of the statins and stuff because of the
So that's
risks
like a
of them.
huge motivation to
Yeah.
like start eating healthier now, because
Right.
I'd kind of gotten off
And you
track.
have a deadline. You have
And
a
I
time.
have a deadline and a time, 1 year for my next annual physical
Mhm.
to bring my, and I've done it before.
Yeah.
I've had that deadline before, and then I snuck it back up. I've done it before, but definitely another one of my doctors put me on. Well, she didn't put me on, but she suggested that I start eating in a more anti-inflammatory way,
Mhm.
taking out red meat, cheese, stuff like that out of my diet, and not eating spicy foods, things that agitate you, things that like get your inflammation up
Uh-huh.
and get your anxiety up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Coffee.
don't say that, because
But I was literally like, it increases your anxiety and it causes inflammation. But you're
But-
like
but at
me,
the
you
same time-
function well on
But it
anxiety.
also-
Yeah,
it's
Because
also-
that's how
at
we
the
know
same
how to
time, a
function.
cup of coffee is good for you.
It's
day.
Yeah.
it's a vasodilator, right?
Mhm.
It dilates your blood vessels. So.
Yeah, maybe not like 32 ounces of coffee, but I have
Right.
really dialed
What?
down the
I
amount of
need
coffee I
32
drink.
Ounces. I literally drink 32 ounces of coffee.
I
every
probably
day.
do too, because if I have 4 cups, 4
I
8-cup
feel you.
cups.
I mean,
That's a
I'm
tough-
here with my 32
It's
ounce
a tough goal.
mermaid.
So like
cup.
that one, because it is something that needs clear purpose and prioritizing and itemizing of the steps to take.
Right, because there's a lot of different
so
ways to
many
go about it.
factors.
Mhm.
right.
That one does take research. It takes
Research, meal planning,
Exactly. So lots of notes.
counting,
Mhm.
and tracking.
Yeah. And
Right.
there's something measurable, because you know what your cholesterol levels are. You could go, in essence, at that mid-year checkpoint. Don't wait until a year goes by to go
Mhm.
find out what your levels are.
Right.
Go get blood work done in like 6 months and see if the efforts that you put in 6 months is actually
Mhm.
paying
is
off.
paying off, because if not, you might want to change
Up your
and that-
game or something.
That's
Yeah.
another reason for the halfway mark check-in, you know. So
because,
or
man,
even
it's
quarterly.
a long time, 365 days of cutting back on coffee, beef, and cheese, only to find out that there was no change.
Yeah.
or you
Right.
didn't cut back just enough to drop
Right.
your levels, so
Right.
that's definitely something that you need
And,
to measure.
and you
Not
could even go
coffee.
quarterly also.
Not
Well,
coffee,
yeah.
but like
the creamer.
The creamer.
cream in your coffee.
Right, because of the cholesterol.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I mean by
So-
coffee. I mean like milk with caffeine flavor.
Yeah. Put just like a slash of sugar-free oat milk in it.
So I have a quote for you guys that I'm glad you mentioned your goal style, because Mom is like on the one end of the spectrum
Well-
of goals where she writes
Yeah.
she writes down all the steps, and then Amber's like, I'm fast and free, and she
But
speaks
she-
it to the universe.
But she wasn't totally fast and
No.
free because she did have it.
She
It's
does-
just in her
it's
head.
in her head, right. And so it made me think of this quote that I had heard, because when I was a kid, and I think we talked about this on a podcast before, that I used to think of a goal as a wish. And like at the beginning of January, when I was in elementary school, my elementary school used to make us write a goal, and then we would put it on the board, and there was this big thing in like the entryway of our school with all the students' goals. And I used to write my goal on there, but because I was, like 8 years old and 10 years old, 12 years old, I didn't know the steps to achieve a goal. So really, what was it? It was a wish. And so I like this quote. A wish is something we hope happens. A goal is something we make happen. The main difference between wishes and goals are a clear purpose, effort, and priority.
Yes. I agree.
I like that.
You have to put in effort for it to be an actual
Absolutely.
goal.
So that's kind of like with manifesting, like when people compare manifesting
Oh yeah,
and
they
goal
set their
setting.
intentions, but they don't follow
It's-
through on their intentions.
Right. It's just a part of the goal setting process. I think it goes great hand in hand,
right.
but it shouldn't be
The end all, the be all.
alone, right? Yeah, you can cut magazine cutouts of things, but if you're just pasting it up on a poster board and hanging it up, it's just a visual manifestation of a wish.
It's a wish.
Yeah.
I agree. Now, you were talking about me being the write it all down, list it all out,
Yeah.
and Amber being the kind of flow with you go, or go with the flow.
Mhm.
But I actually wanted to say
Flow with the
this
flow.
year I've been a little bit different too, because last year I set and in the past when we've done like Cultivate What Matters goal setting system, and Kristen and I have been kind of working on our own little thing lately, and I would list out all these things, and I kept finding that I was getting stuck because I had so many steps, and I had them prioritized in the order that I felt like they needed to happen, but I kept avoiding the same ones over and over
You weren't
and
actually
over.
doing the
I
steps.
wasn't
You were
doing those
just
steps.
writing them out, yeah.
I spent a lot of time writing it out and not much time at all doing them. So as you probably know, for this year I lost my husband in January, and that kind of threw everything into a blender, basically, or the wood chipper. My life became mulch, and all of my goals that I thought I was going, when I was thinking about them at the end of last year, they suddenly had very real changes. They were irrelevant, and reeling in those changes, I was very late coming to the goal setting this year. In fact, I waited a long time to even look at goals. And when I decided to do my goals, instead of in the past where I had like all the different areas of my life, I had a goal in them. In my health, I had a goal to lose weight or to sleep more or whatever. And in my work life, I had a goal to get more clients or make more money or whatever. So all these different areas of my life, I had all these goals, and I was working on them little by little or not. And I suddenly decided I don't have the mental capacity to work on more than one thing at a time. And so instead, I just looked at the one thing that was most important right now, and that became my goal. And so that happened to be my bookkeeping thing, because I've kind of gotten a habit of my bookkeeping being out of sync with the tax system. And so I was, every year for the last 3 years, I've had to file an extension, and I turned my taxes in at the last minute because it took me, way longer to do everything than it should have. And part of that was because of the illness in our family, and different people moving in and out of the house, being a caregiver for people who are ill and things like that. And, there's a lot of reasons why that happened, and they don't really matter. But the fact is I was out of sync. And so I decided that I needed to get in sync. And my goal was to get my taxes turned in by tax day. And I was actually a year behind from last year. So, and I did not set any specific steps or anything like that. After a long talk with my tax accountant, we decided to just go the quickest, fastest route to getting the taxes filed, even if it cost me more money in the long run, because I was not taking all of the deductions that I could if I spent a lot of time, doing all the research and everything. So I just went as fast as I could through my taxes. I sorted out all my receipts and added them up by hand. I did all these things that just made it go by really fast, and I actually got stuff turned in before April 15th. So in essence, I did my goal, but I didn't write out any steps that went with it or anything like that. So that's where I think there's a kind of a fine line. Sometimes you have to know when a goal is something that you can write out all the lists, like Amber does with her school things. She has to abide by those deadlines.
Yeah.
And sometimes the goal is just to get the darn thing done.
Yes.
For sure.
Okay, so that's one of the things that, so what doesn't work? Perfectionism.
Oh, absolutely.
So the thing that I see you struggle with is writing out every little detail. Like, if you kept going at that, you would be writing down, take a breath, blink my eyes. Like, you break it down.
I am not that bad.
No, I'm just saying, like, because you break down every step.
Well, and that's one of the
And
things
one of
that
the
people
things they
teach
say
you.
is
They
like,
teach you to do
oh,
that.
okay, you want to run a 5K, but you need to go from couch to 5K.
Right.
First thing to do is to wear your running shoes, because you can't
Put your
run
running
with
shoes on.
So
Yeah.
put your shoes on, and then it's like, buy sensible shoelaces. It's like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
like, let's
Yeah,
not
there's-
get too detailed, right?
Right.
So perfectionism is gonna be the number one killer. So you got your wish, there's not enough effort.
Yes.
And then perfectionism is getting too into the details. So I was listening to a my favorite person on podcast right now for a while has been the Clutterbug lady.
Oh,
Ever since we did that decluttering podcast.
Oh, I know. She's awesome.
And so then I found her YouTube, and then I was like, wow, she does podcasts too. And I love listening to her podcast. And she was really struggling with getting a lot of stuff done at her house. Her and her husband were going on a business trip. And so her mom and dad were coming to stay at her house to take her kids to school and stuff. And so she had like this really long list of stuff to do. And it was like, you're getting up and driving in the car at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you haven't packed, you haven't washed your laundry. You still need to go do this. You still need to go do that, right? You need an oil change. You got all this stuff to do before you leave for your trip.
This is me every time I go anywhere.
Exactly. I'm looking at you too. So, because she was talking about her list, and she was like, okay, let me break it down to the things that are the biggest priority.
Right.
Right. And we talked about using like the Eisenhower matrix for something
yeah,
like this.
yeah.
And that's literally, she didn't say Eisenhower matrix, but she talked about putting the most important things on the list. And she was
Right.
like, okay, my mom and dad are sleeping in my bed, so I should go change my sheets.
Right.
You know, and then she said, I'm going to go buy, they need food, but they can also, you know, feed themselves.
they
so
can shop
she went
themselves,
and
yeah.
just restocked the necessities
Right.
that she knew the kids would need, and then left it at that. So it was a quick trip at the grocery store instead of a whole like hour
Meal planning thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
So her thing that she was channeling while she was trying to knock out this list was Getmo, Getmo, which is good enough to move on. And she credited it to Craig Groeschel, who introduced the concept of Getmo at a global leadership networking meeting. And he, I guess, was like a speaker or something at the event. And he was talking about Getmo. And I loved that because it's
do like that one.
permission to accept the acceptable versus expecting perfectionism.
Right.
Because we oftentimes, because we're trying to, you know, be better performers, right? This
Right.
whole purpose of a goal. Like if you are totally into goal setting, you are probably trying to develop yourself into a better person. I mean,
Right.
that's just the bottom line.
Yes,
like,
you are
that's what we're doing.
self-development oriented.
Exactly.
Basically.
And so you are interested in becoming better. And so you probably already have a little bit of perfectionism at heart somewhere.
Right.
And so that is one of the things that can really keep you from hitting your goal, which is interesting because to hit your goal is to hit perfectionism. Like, yes, I mastered my goal. Like, I did it.
Right.
I succeeded. But at the same time, trying to like really make just the nitty gritty, like, I'm gonna go run a 5K, but I have to have the perfect shoelaces and the perfect shoes. And no, just get out and start walking first. And then when those shoes wear out, go get some new shoes.
Right. Right.
In the meantime, research and decide what kind of shoes you want. Don't start researching shoes before you actually get out and start.
Right. And
hitting
that,
the
that was
pavement.
basically what my accountant said.
Yeah.
Just pull out the receipts and pull out the ones that you know are tax related.
Yeah.
And let's add those up and go on.
It's
And
good enough to move on.
It's good enough to move on. And I really think that helped me more than anything. And it's not to say that I won't go back to my old method of bookkeeping, but it was enough to get those old taxes out of my way.
Yeah.
And it was something that was hanging over my head all last year, and it was the thing I couldn't move past because I was trying to work on itemizing all of those receipts into my bookkeeping system, and my software kept crashing. I lost a half a year's worth of data, and I had to start over with it. And that was when he finally just said, let's just start from zero. And go with what you have already entered, and then let's just add up the receipts, the rest of the receipts, and we'll go from there. And it was so relieving to be able to do that. I felt like this weight was pulled off of my shoulder because it was good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I moved on from it. So
right.
So likewise, the good enough to move on kind of thing applies to the other goals that I usually set. You know, like I said, I usually have one in all these different areas of my life, but this year, when I first sat down to do my goal setting, I kind of felt like I can't set real goals right now because I'm still reeling from the passing of my husband, and I don't know what I need to do this year. I could not set goals. The only reason I was able to set the tax and accounting thing was because it was something that was imminent and I knew that it needed to get done. But there are other aspects of my life where I was like, well, I don't know what my goal is in that area right now because that has changed.
Yeah.
And I, instead of just, I tried to beat myself up. I was beating myself up over it because I was really far behind my usual progress of setting goals for the year. And I finally just said, you know what? I'm not going to set real goals in any of those other areas unless I already know what that goal is. So, if it was a really simple, easy thing to set a goal in, then I went ahead and did that. So, for instance, one of my goals was in my spirituality was just to define and establish a practice of spiritual studies. Simple as that. I kept it as simple as I could, define and establish. So it could be, I'm going to read one book about spirituality and call it done.
Yeah.
It really, the defining part of it is part of the goal. So I just kept it really simple. But like some of my other goals, like with my family life, with my career, with my finances, those things were still up in the air because I wasn't sure what I could do. I wasn't sure what I had the money for. I wasn't sure what I had the time or the mental capacity for. And so those things, I have not set any goals in those. They are just what they are. And it's good enough to move on. And as I go through and work on the goals that are imminent, the ones that need to be addressed right now, or the ones that can be worked into my existing lifestyle, and I find more room for the other goals, I can add those other goals in because they will begin to be more clear to me as time goes by. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it really is still, even though I'm adhering to my goal setting plans, it's still kind of a go with the flow kind of thing. And it really is. And it's kind of working right now. I may not be accomplishing as much as I would like in some areas, but it's also, I am accomplishing more than I have in several previous years. So, I think that was helpful. That good enough to move on, do what I can, give up this idea of perfection. And that perfection thing is something that kills all of us. We all, in some area, in some way or another, either in being perfect and setting up the perfect plan, or in
Expecting the perfect outcome.
Yeah, or the perfect timing. Because sometimes the timing is not perfect. Sometimes you have to do something with imperfect timing, but it's because it happens, at the spur. This may not be the perfect time to do it, but I got to do it right now.
Yeah.
And you just get it done.
Yeah. Another thing that doesn't work with goals is setting a goal because you feel like you should have a goal for that, or that other people like encourage you to set a goal for that.
Right.
So if it's something like you particularly don't believe in, or invested in, then
what's the point of setting it? Because you're not going to invest your time in it or anything. And that's what I actually have a list here that I found on the internet the other day, and it's how to finish what you start. And they make some of these points. So it's like, be selective in what you embark on. Don't just start anything. Do only the stuff you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because you have to want to get it done in order to accomplish it. Yeah.
And I think that goes back to that clear purpose. Like,
yes,
passion
absolutely.
is part of that, and priority is part of passion too. Because if you're really truly passionate about something, it will naturally be a priority.
It will. The opportunities will make themselves available to you because you are in the right place at the right time, because it is something that interests you, or you will make the time to make it work for you. I agree totally.
Yeah, I have a hard time at work, not with my personal goals, but being, like a team leader, we set goals for like our department, and then, individual personal goals for each individual person. And so for me, being the leader and knowing like what the expectations are, it's easy for me to set the goal for them and tell them, here's what your goal is. But if that's not something that they're passionate about, then how
Yeah.
can I expect any return on that, you know? So I really try to help them get invested in setting the goal themselves so that it's like their idea in a
Right.
sense.
Or finding a way to make it their goal. So
Yes.
if the goal is a quota, find some way to make the quota tied to something that you are passionate about.
Right. Or having them say what they want the quota to be, as long as it's within that expectation,
Right.
you know, limit,
Right.
then they're the one telling me what they want their goal to be, even if it's what I'm wanting them to tell them, you know.
Right.
I can coach them in that right
Mhm.
direction so that, you know, you can do that with kids
Yeah,
as
I do.
well.
I do the same thing with my students whenever we do our goal setting. My 11th graders this year were in a college class, and I was the teacher of the college class. And at the very beginning of the year, we did an exercise called time management strategies, where students had to pretty much map out, like a rough map out of their semester and how they were going to study and how they were going to
So they're personally making
Yeah,
a commitment on
they're-
paper. Yeah.
a commitment on paper on how they were going to get their assignments turned in on time.
So
I-
then when they don't get their assignments on time, they can see like, well, did I put in that effort?
I have a question for you guys and it's kind of related to this. So, and it comes for me like in setting goals. Sometimes I start to think about what my goals are, and I'm pondering my options, and people give a lot of feedback about what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not when I am talking about those options, I'm not asking for somebody to tell me what to do. I'm trying to find that that balance of seeing things but when other people have very strong opinions about what your goals should be, how do you deal with that?
That's a really good question. So, take for instance, like weight loss, right?
Yes,
That
that's
one
a
is
perfect one.
a really good example
Because people tell you-
Everybody
has
has
their
an
own-
opinion on that.
everyone
yeah,
has
You
the
should eat
secret
this. You
answer.
should eat that. You should
Yes.
do this. You should do that. And I'm
So-
like, that's not what I'm asking you.
And this is really funny because I wouldn't take weight loss tips from someone who's also struggling with their weight, but at the same time, I also wouldn't take weight loss tips from someone who's never struggled
Yes.
with their weight.
Yes.
So think about the tips that people give you
Right.
and the advice that people give you. I think you said something to Amber earlier today, and I was like, that kind of works with goals too.
It does.
Don't take criticism from someone who. What was it you said?
Don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from or something
Advice
like that.
from, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, or don't take advice from somebody. I can't remember the exact phrase. There's actually a quote that goes with that. And it's like, don't let somebody criticize you if you wouldn't
follow their advice.
if you wouldn't follow their advice anyway, or if you don't trust what they have to say.
Yeah. And any good criticism will come in the form of constructive criticism and
Yes.
advice, and
Yes.
not in the form of negative.
You should do this. You should
criticism.
do
Yeah.
this. It should
or
never
you're not
be.
doing blah blah blah. So
Right,
you
right.
can just take all of those
Right.
and cancel those out,
Right.
because if it's not constructive or positive advice, then it's probably not useful either.
Right.
It's just unfortunately it's just human nature whenever you say, "Oh, my goal is
Oh, I know. People want to be
weight
helpful.
loss," and
People
then
want to be
people are
helpful, and I
all
find
like,
myself doing that a lot. I do.
advice, like, "Oh, well, you should eat this way. You should do this diet. You should do that,"
I catch myself doing it too, and it's for me, it's that mom perspective, because moms want to help their kids, and so and our kids are everyone in our orbit, So your husband, your wife, your best friend, when they're all, you're nurturing and mothering all of them, and so when you when they're trying to do something, you're doing the things that mothers do. Here, this is what you should do. This is what you should do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a little, sometimes it's a lot overbearing. And like I said, I catch myself doing it all the time too. And then it turns around and it comes back on me because I'll be talking about, whether I should retire or not or whatever. And I have some people that are like, oh, you don't want to retire? Then you can't go do this and you can't do that. And then I have other people saying, well, you should retire so you can go do this and you can go do that. And I'm like, I didn't ask you whether I should retire or not. I just told you these are my options. These are the things I'm thinking about. I do like the idea of you sharing the pros and cons because but I don't want somebody telling me what to do. And I've noticed this a lot since my husband died, because I got a lump sum life insurance and, and his retirement is available to me and things like that. And so then I'm starting to, people say, well, you should do this. And you've always talked about doing this and you should go do this and you should go take a trip and you should go do that. And I'm like, whoa, Nellie, whoa. I am just making a major list of all the things right now I'm making my wish list. I'm not making my goals list. I'm making my wish list. And I'm putting them all in this big long list. And then I'm going to start looking at the pros and the cons of all of these before I decide which ones are actually going to be goals. Yeah. But I don't need people telling me how to spend the life insurance or what I need to do with it. That's for my financial advisor to do. Mm-hmm. And I have ideas of what I want to do with the money or whatever, I don't mind the idea of this is an option you could do with it, but don't put it in that form of you should do this. I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
So, I mean, the more vocal you are about any goal that you're working on, the more
you will
likely you will have people sharing their input. That's just human nature.
I think
Amber,
so too.
remember when you were getting married and you were planning all of the things and you had like a big phone group of people.
Well, and I was just, giving
soundboard like, oh, what if we did these colors?
Yeah, and I was just like, laying things out there, and then everybody
almost made you cry. You were like, I'm just not going to even do this at all because I don't.
Well, yeah, no, like I did have like a kind of like a mental breakdown, and then I stopped texting people and just started planning the wedding.
And then we said, just this is your wedding. You choose
and
it.
I think that's because you were saying like, oh, these are just some fun ideas, and other people were thinking
we're just feeding on that.
I think they were thinking you were making decisions or asking opinions.
I was just like,
and then you were taking it as pressure that you had to do what they said.
And it was just like I wanted to have a non-traditional wedding, and people were like, oh, well, I like a traditional wedding and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, and then I just had like this mental breakdown, and then I just took a step back and I was like, well, that's not what I want.
Yeah. Right.
I don't want those colors.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want that. And it's so funny because, we were talking about like writing things down and how I keep a lot of my goals in my head and not write them down. Like in my head, I had all of this planning and everything like that, and on my phone and stuff like that. But I didn't have like this huge big wedding binder like Kristen did or anything like that. And then I remember
didn't. That was my mom.
Yeah, and then Cindy comes at me and she's like, what do you mean you don't have any of this planned out? Blah, 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 blah. It should be like this and this and this. And I'm like, it is. It's in my head. I have an exact idea of what I want.
And
just
it's
because
so
it's not like a vision board or anything like that.
And it's so funny because we're both Sagittarius, but I think just because of the years apart that we are. And
or the days.
The days apart that we are and all that. And, and the ways we were raised also. There's a lot of things there.
I am a November Sagittarius.
That's
and
true.
You're a December,
I'm a
Sagittarius.
Yeah.
So those are two completely different kinds of
then
Sagittarius.
Moon and rising signs are different too. And I'm very, plan it, make it Do it.
Yeah.
I'm
write it out.
okay. So
Get them
I am
shoelaces.
I am a Sagittarius sun, a Taurus moon, and a Virgo rising. This is down to earth,
Bullheaded.
bullheaded, down to earth, fiery, down to earth, bullheaded, planner, control freak.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, right.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's me. It is.
Yeah.
That is me. Yeah.
So I think think about like the bigger your goal is and the more life changing or life altering your goal is, it also affects other people too.
Oh, yes.
Right? So people
Yes.
around you. So when you voice your goal and you're just talking with your inner circle, also be
Mhm.
aware that those people can be impacted possibly by your goal.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
of those people in your circles,
And maybe negatively
and
so.
exactly, and the different layers of your circles might be impacted by that goal.
You have saboteurs in your
And
life,
they don't,
and they don't even
realize
know
it.
that they're doing
No.
it. Yes.
So you just have to be aware,
Like going on a diet affects your friends because then they can't go with you to go eat the things they want to go eat.
right.
Or
Oh
your
gosh,
family
that
member.
is so true.
And you're even with your family member
Even with your
because
I've
then
had
that impacts
family members be saboteurs because they didn't like that I wasn't eating what they ate, or that I
Mhm,
went
or vice
different,
versa,
or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was, when I had that surgery and I started losing weight, my ex-husband was a major saboteur in that because he thought that I was going to lose all of this weight and then leave him.
hmm That happens a lot.
I left him for a different reason, by the way.
Yeah, but
But you did.
I
it's
did
not-
leave him.
Totally did.
I
You
totally
did.
But that is not the only reason why they sabotage you, though. Sometimes it's
yeah.
they want you to still be their buddy that goes out to eat donuts,
Yeah.
and they miss that, so they want you to go eat donuts with
Yeah.
them. You know,
So
Well, I
also
mean,
don't
they
take
can
it
still
personally.
go eat donuts. Like,
Right.
even if I stopped eating donuts and Kristen really wanted to eat donuts, I'll still go with her.
Right, but a
so
lot of people
she
won't.
can eat donuts.
right?
And I'll have
that
a
that
carrot
would be
stick.
Kristen's ego not wanting to be judged for not making
Yeah.
The right choice.
Man,
yeah,
just
there's
go-
also
okay.
that.
Honestly, though, people, just go and get the donuts by yourself and sit sadly and eat in the car. I'm
I'm
just
not
kidding.
even-
I'm just
I've
kidding. I'm just
never.
kidding.
I'm like, that is the worst
That's
advice.
bad
ever.
advice. Right.
Okay, don't listen to me. Don't listen to me.
No,
I
and-
might have done that a
and-
few times in my.
And I'm only using the donut thing because we've talked about this. Krispy Kremes are my
Yeah.
my evil delight there. So, and I haven't had one in like 2 years. So, but the idea, it's like I've had friends who went on diets, and then it was very sad for me that they wouldn't go to lunch with me anymore because they only ate food that they prepared at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had things like that happen, and so it's like, well,
All right. So for that goal category, I'm gonna say that it can go either ways. It's
Yeah,
both
it can.
flip of the coin. You can totally ignore all of the good, sound, positive advice and miss out on good, sound, positive advice.
yeah.
Or you can also totally depend on other people to tell
I
you
think-
how to achieve
I
your
think
goal.
it's
And I think
neither.
they're both bad. That's what I'm saying.
I think
I
it's
think you need to have a healthy balance and know
Balance
when
is-
to filter out.
right. It's weighing the source.
Yes.
Considering the source of where it comes from. So understanding
Yeah.
why that person gave that particular advice.
Exactly.
So if they're giving you good advice about things to eat and things to do, consider that they're giving that not in a way to control you, but in a way to
help.
offer you options.
With love. Yeah.
With love. So take note of those options, weigh those options, and use them if they work for you. If they are giving you advice to do something that
Is in fear of your goal.
in fear
Yeah.
of your goal, or seems like it is selfishly motivated, then keep that in mind. And also consider why that they might have that selfish need to offer that, because maybe the answer lies somewhere else in that you can
A compromise.
a compromise. Yeah, like somebody wants you to go eat the donuts. Do like Amber said, I'll go with you to eat donuts, but I can't have one. Or if you want to bring donuts over and eat them in front of me anytime, you're welcome to do that. I just can't eat them. You can do things like that. Or if that person is saying, well, I want to go to this place to eat, and you won't go there anymore, we'll say, well, why don't you go get what you like, and I'll go get what I like, and we'll sit and eat together.
Mm-hmm. And if you have someone telling you to stay in your lane, then tell them, we're in different cars. You stay in your lane.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
You know,
I
and
like
I
that.
actually have in my goals book, and this is something that I go back and reflect on every once in a while.
Uh-huh.
We did this activity a long time ago. We went to this intuitives meeting, and
love that one.
Everyone proposed a question or a goal.
I love doing this
and
activity.
You sit down at the table, and so when it's my turn, we get 5 minutes. Everyone's got a sticky notepad, and I say,
this is my question.
My question, one of them was to stabilize my finances. I just gave a broad, I need to stabilize my finances, and I didn't tell them like, oh, I'm in debt or anything like that. You know, I let them I gave them the least amount of information so I could get the most out of them, because they were using their intuition to provide tips.
Yes.
And so they wrote down all these tips
as
on
fast as
sticky
you can.
notes,
The idea is to write as fast as you can, as many ideas as you can.
Slap those all on the table. And then at the end of the session, you take all your sticky notes and then you sort them out based on, like, is this something I can do now? Is this something I can do later? Is this something that doesn't make sense and I need to think about it? And literally, like, all of the things that I could do something with, I prioritized those.
Right.
And it kind of, like, ended up on an Eisenhower matrix. And we used that to, like, make the plans to start those activities.
Right.
And then there was a few that at the time I was like, you know, this doesn't make sense, but because they were speaking from their intuition, I saved them and put them in, like, on a piece of paper, and I have them all just kind of like sitting here on the back of my planner, and I'll go back and look at them every once in a while.
And sometimes you'll run across something and go, oh,
it makes sense now. So one of the things, like, I wanted to just kind of toss out there is sometimes when people give advice, it doesn't always make sense at the time, but it never hurts to just put it in your pocket for later.
Right.
Because it might actually, like, sink in.
Right. I like that. I like that a lot. And I've always loved that little exercise. It works really well. And if you are ever at a place where you have a goal and you're not sure how to do that, that's a great way to get together with your friends or your family and do that. We did that one year as a goal setting session with our family. We were trying to teach some of the people in our family how to brainstorm ideas for their own goal setting, and we did that project. And I used the example of what are some things our family can do for fun this coming year. And, and we just did all these little things. And that was how we started one of our goals of having family activities every month. And we did a lot of really fun things together because of it, because everybody in the family had different ideas of what would be a fun thing to do. And that was actually one of the goals that I set for that year and accomplished. So.
And we identified which ones were really simple and easy that we could knock out first and which ones would take longer.
And some of those are still on our bucket list of things to do. They're just going to take a little bit longer to do. So
they are also, in a sense, like advice from other people.
Yes, it is the same thing. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so this how to start and finish how to finish what you start. I will link this on the Heard It on the podcast.
Okay.
And it's from Celestine Chua, and I have a link for the article, but she just has 10 items. I just wanted to run through these really fast. And be selective in what you embark on, as I mentioned. Don't just start on any old thing. Do what you're passionate about. Number 2 is estimate the resources you need. This is going back to the SMART goals. So when you do SMART goals, one of the things you do is look at your resources. So you know what you need to have. So number 3 is budget your time and energy accordingly. So there's your timely, but and time and energy are resources. So
Yeah.
whether you think they are or not, they absolutely are. And I tell people this all the time: is it really worth your time to do something, or is it better to pay someone to do it so that it's done?
Especially if someone else can do it a lot faster.
Faster.
Like
So,
mowing the yard.
mowing the yard is and cleaning the house. That's another one. Or doing the bookkeeping, for me or whatever. This is one that I've talked about with my counselor and stuff too, because the sometimes it's worth it to spend the money to pay someone to take care of that little thing, because I can pay $65 to the guy to do my yard, but it would take me 4 hours. Well, 4 hours of my time is more than $65. So, when you think about your wages, what your time is valued at,
Yeah.
$65 is not much at all. So, quit being a perfectionist, as you mentioned. Whenever you're obsessing about it, it doesn't make a big deal in the long run. So, don't obsess about the perfection. Just get it done. Good enough is good enough. Commit to it. Hold yourself to your word. And that's where having that date, to that timeliness of the SMART goals falls into place. Connect with your end vision. I like this one because a lot of times we forget what the whole purpose of that goal is.
Yes.
You have to know your why. Why am I doing this goal? So for me, my weight loss goals are tied to health and longevity and being able to do the things I want to do. I want to lower my A1C. I want to not have to take the diabetes medication and not be on sugar-free stuff anymore.
Right. I want to touch my toes without my fat being in the way.
Right. So, I want to live to see my grandchild go to college, and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things in that end vision,
Yeah.
So I have to keep remembering the why. Number 7 is follow the path of highest enjoyment. So if there's I know,
like
right?
That one.
If there's multiple ways to get a job done, why go down the hard way? Do the way and I will say there's 2 different things, because on one of my tarot readings the other day, I got a thing that was talking about the easy way and the hard way. And sometimes picking the easy way is the least fulfilling.
Yeah.
And the hard way is the one where you have the most growth.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of weigh that. But the highest enjoyment, if one of your goals, if there's an easy way to do it or a way that makes it pleasurable, then why not do that way? And that goes back to the thing that I was talking about with my accountant, talking about adding up the receipts by hand. It is nothing for me to sit with my 10-key calculator in front of me while I'm watching General Hospital or Grey's Anatomy or something and just add up receipts. And I'm sitting here doing something I enjoy, which is watching the TV show.
Right.
And the 10-key, I've done it for so many years because of office settings that it's like a muscle memory for me. So I'm just doing it. And that was so fast and so easy. And so that was much more enjoyable than sitting here painstakingly adding every single receipt into QuickBooks or whatever. Yeah. And so taking the path of highest enjoyment really worked for me. Number 8 is track your progress. And we've talked about this too. Using trackers is a reward system. You get like a little hit of dopamine every time you check off a box that you completed a task.
Yes.
So when you have a list of tasks to do, or you have a tracker, I'm going to exercise every day or 3 times a week, every time you check that off, you're giving yourself that little buzz. And so if you are tracking that motivates you to do it more often. And whatever you measure winds up getting it improves over time. The more you do it, the more you want to do it. Number 9 is celebrate what you've done so far. So celebrate your little milestones. And I think y'all have noticed that I've done this. Yay, I got through June.
Yeah.
Yay, I got through July. You know,
Yeah.
every time I went through each month, I was like, I celebrated with my friends, you know, just a little shout out. Look, I got this done. And by celebrating, it was giving myself that pat on the back, that another little hit of dopamine. You know, I felt like I accomplished something. It kept me going. And then the last one, and this one I thought was kind of odd, and it sounds counterintuitive, but don't force it. Number 10, don't force it. If it's really not working out, quit the project if it's not what you want.
Right.
You are never going to finish it if it's not what you really want.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to number 1. Be selective in what you embark on. So if you are working on this project and working on this project and working on this project and you're getting nowhere and you just hate it, then why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a perfect example of a goal that you should just let go or change it. And that's what the mid-year goals reflect is
Yeah, it's
about.
permission to change.
It's permission to
what's not
change your
working.
track, to go a different direction, to adapt. You know, maybe your goal is no longer to lose 20 pounds by June. Maybe now it's, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by the end of the year or whatever. You know, it's sometimes you just have to readjust what your goals are. You have to make them more realistic, or maybe your goal really isn't about the weight. Maybe you don't really care about the weight. Maybe what you care about is being physically fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you change your focus. Instead of worrying about the weight, you start changing how you move your body and getting outside and doing more outside, more physically active, things like that, so that you become more physically fit instead of, and then the weight comes off.
Right. Or maybe at the end of it all, even if you didn't lose the weight, you have a better positive body image or more
Yes.
self-esteem or a
Or
really
you're
good
enjoying
routine at the
yourself.
gym
Yes.
already established.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so I loved this list, and I think that's a great one to go back to with your goals you've already set, and reevaluate
Mhm.
what you've done with your goals so far, and see if they fit to that. Go back and look and see if they are still SMART goals. See if you still want to pursue them. There's nothing wrong with changing your goals midstream. There's nothing wrong with putting one on the back burner and going for something that is more imminent and urgent. There's nothing wrong with changing and reorganizing or whatever, or changing the way you go about it.
For sure, definitely.
And I think that the mid-year check-in, one of the things that you want to remind yourself is this is not the time for you to go back and look at all the things you didn't achieve.
Exactly.
It's
what
the
you
time to
can-
celebrate what you did.
Yes. Mark,
And things
tick
to
off
look
those
forward
things you
to.
did do. Yes.
Yeah, this isn't
Absolutely.
the time to beat yourself up and say that you're a failure and that, oh my gosh, half the year's already come and I haven't even started on my goals.
Right.
Yeah, don't even do that, because you need to move forward. Don't look backwards.
Yeah. Never look backwards. You're not going that way.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's a great place to stop for today. We'll be back with more of our goal setting podcasts throughout the year, and we mention them frequently in our other podcasts on other topics. So go back and check out the list of previous ones if you haven't heard those already.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in to this bonus
Absolutely.
podcast. And we'll be back on Wednesday with a new podcast on another topic.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.